Good morning. Good morning, and thank you again for the turnout. It's tremendous. Thank you very much. A couple of things before we start. First of all, the standard mobile phone thing. If you could make sure that your phones are on mute, that would appreciate it. The other thing is we're coming up close to the AGM, which is in May, and there's going to be 2 committee members which will stand down. So we will be looking for anybody that's interested in joining the committee to fill those two vacancies. And the other one is we haven't got a vice chair. And I've gone through the history of U3A, and there's never been an assassination attempt on the current chairman. But you never know, do you? So if anybody's interested in taking over the role as vice chair, I've got another 2 years to do, and God willing, I'll manage to do that. So there's plenty of time to get used to the job. So if you're interested, contact me. You're welcome to come along to one of the committee meetings to get a grounding on what goes on at the meeting and see whether it's the sort of thing you'd be interested in. So if you're interested, please contact me and we'll take it forward. I'll pass over now to Yvonne, and she'll explain what's going on with the events currently. Thank you.
Good morning, all. Apologies if I cough and splutter, but I've got a bit of a cold. So keep your distance from me if you see me approaching. So, U3A Scotland, which is the umbrella group for us and other U3As in Scotland, has decided that they're going to run an event of some sort in Edinburgh at Napier College in August. We don't know terribly much about it, but we'll let you know about it, a bit more about it when we know more. So that was just a kind of heads up. I thought I'd do another plug for the Artificial Intelligence Group, which we hope will be forming soon. I think they've perhaps got 3 people interested, so more would be lovely. It's going to be meeting in Unit 7, we hope, if there's space, meeting every 4 weeks. And the person to speak to is Bob Kerr. I think I might have called him Rob Kerr before, so apologies if you're here, Bob. And then the only other thing I've got is I've been asked to let you know about a talk taking place at St John's Kirk a week on Wednesday, celebrating the work of the sculptor of the statue of St John the Baptist in St John's Kirk. £5 entry, free if you're a friend of the kirk. And that's all I've got.
Thanks, Yvonne. I think we're quite lucky today to have these 3 ladies with us. I think most of the audience, or a lot of the audience, will have used Pitlochry Theatre. And these 3 ladies today are going to fill in some of the gaps that we probably don't know about. On the left, we've got Caroline. And there we've got, in the middle, we've got Kath. And then Lish on the right. So I'm going to hand over to them because they're much more interested in me. And off you go. Thank you.
Thank you to the U3A for asking us here today and giving us the opportunity to talk about Pitlochry Festival Theatre, which is a well-loved institution in Scotland, not only for its productions, but also for its role in the community. As Graham so kindly announced, this is Kath Clark. She's our head of marketing and communications at Pitlochry, and we have Caroline Bavey, who's our head garden, landscape and garden manager. And I'm Alicia Walker, Lish, marketing manager at Pitlochry Festival Theatre. Kath and I are going to speak a little bit about the theatre first, and then we'll hand over to Caroline, who will walk you metaphorically through the Explorer's Garden. So many of you, I'm going to use this. That's good. There we are. Now, many of you will know exactly where we are in Pitlochry, but for those who aren't familiar, we're located in the scenic town of Pitlochry, in the heart of Perthshire, and it's approximately 40 minutes north from where we are now. It's nestled on the banks of the River Tummel, and Pitlochry Festival Theatre has stunning views and is completely surrounded by natural beauty and the historic hamlet of Portnacraig. Now, before we move on to where we are now, we're going to take you back a little bit to where we began. So we were founded in 1951 by this man here, John Stewart. He visited Pitlochry near the end of the Second World War, and that was when he fell completely in love with the town and all of its charms. This is when he decided Pitlochry would be the ideal home for his dream theatre. And then he went on to do something very sweet and very theatrical. He hid a piece of paper inside a post along the River Tummel and the banks there. And do you want to know what it said? Good, because I want to tell you. It read, "When peace is declared, I shall return to this spot to give thanks to God and to establish my festival." It's quite remarkable. And then on VE Day, John Stewart went back to that same spot, retrieved his note, and vowed that he would fulfill his promise. Now, after some toil and tribulation and application refusal for a building license, he changed tack and decided to open the theatre as a magnificent tent rather than a building. And as such, in May 1951, Pitlochry Festival Theatre opened with the British premiere of Maxwell Anderson's Mary of Scotland, with the great Joss Ackland playing Darnley. Now, as a lovely aside, Joss Ackland went on to star in many Hollywood films, and he had a successful career in Scotland and beyond. But in his own words, his greatest achievement was meeting Rosemary Kirkcaldy in that 1951 ensemble cast and convincing her to marry him at the Holy Trinity Church in Pitlochry later that August. Their love story was one that lasted, and it was born in that tent that was Pitlochry Festival Theatre. So the theatre evolved from a summer festival tent into a full-fledged theatre in 1981. And now, in 2014, we began doing renovations. And it kind of feels like we've been doing renovations ever since. This year, it's the seats, which were the original ones since 1981. Can you believe they held up that long? It was great. As well, we are updating our washrooms, and this was much needed. Ask any of our post-show survey reports.
I'll just add that the seats have currently been taken away completely, and they've been sent away to a theatre specialist in London that does lots of theatres all over the UK. They've been stripped back, and they've been built up and reupholstered, and they'll be back with us for the start of the summer season, thankfully. Otherwise, it'll be bring your own cushion.
Yes. And the building now, we have an auditorium for 500, we have an intimate studio space for 170, and we have an outdoor amphitheatre in the Explorer's Garden that seats 100. And here's a fun fact. We are the largest building-based producing theatre in Scotland. Now, what does that mean? It means we make all our own work. We make the sets, we build the costumes, and it's all done in-house. And we also send all our work on the road. We send shows to Edinburgh, to Aberdeen, to Manchester, and we co-produce with theatres all over the UK. But let's get into this a little bit more, what we actually do. So Pitlochry Festival Theatre is a repertory theatre. Now, this is a type of programming that has become incredibly rare. The reason for this is because it's difficult. It's really hard work. It's hard for the actors, for the production team, and for wardrobe, and for marketing, for the entire team. And here's why. This behind us is the season last year. We had a large 24-cast ensemble, and they acted typically in 3 shows. Now, once the season gets going, the shows are running in a rotating program throughout the summer. This means a cast member could be performing in Beautiful one evening, and then go on to star in Beautiful the next day for a matinee, and then be performing outside in the Secret Garden in the amphitheatre, and that night go on and be back in Footloose. So you get the idea. It also means the production team has to change the sets over in between each performance, and the wardrobe team has to clean and dry and lay out the costumes for each show. And that's all with a very rapid turnaround. And did I mention that we make all our own costumes and sets in-house for all of these shows? That's our summer repertory season, and it's wonderful. Yes, it's hard, but it's also fantastic. Now, imagine trying to cast for 8 shows at a time. This was our lovely ensemble from last year, most of them. It's pretty hard to nail them all down at one place and one time, but one of the minor difficulties. But the cast love it. The actors come and they cut their teeth on the art of live performing on a scale you cannot get other places. And they come back again and again, they really do. I think it must be quite addictive. I remember asking one of the cast from the year before this if it was difficult playing the lead in A Streetcar Named Desire, and then the next day coming in and playing sort of the sweet Trevor Howard character from Brief Encounter, who was looking for love on a train. And he said it was an absolute tonic being able to slip into a romantic character like Trevor after being such an angry Stanley Kowalski. Now, throughout the summer season, the theater is buzzing with life and adrenaline from all these shows happening each day over the summer. And the audiences are thrilled when they can come and see 6 plays in 6 days. It's quite a thing, a different show every night and each matinee. It's lovely. And as we know, the arts are drastically underfunded, so understudies for actors are but a dream. Which reminds me of a very good "the show must go on" kind of story. We had one of our festive productions, Sunshine on Leith, and one of the actors took terrifically ill. Now, this show, in all its proclaimers-filled glory, was back due to incredibly popular demand from the summer before. And our artistic director at the time, Elizabeth Newman, had the inspired idea to contact the previous cast member from the summer before and see if there was any chance he was available for one night only. And it just so happened he had just finished another show and was due to jet off to Australia to film something the next day, but he had one night free. So he came up to Scotland with all the lines somehow still firmly in his head from the summer before, and the show went on. And it did, to rapturous applause. And we always explain to audiences when a replacement must happen, and of course it feels like an extra triumph to us when we pull it off, but the audiences always seem to agree as well, so it was a very fun tale.
We've got lots of examples of this, but we had one of our shows, Little Women, was on a tour in Manchester about 18 months ago, and 2 hours before the performance, the main character who was playing Jo was doing a warm-up for a sword fight scene, and she hurt her arm and had to go to hospital. And so 2 hours before the performance, it's a bit of a runaround. So the director came on in her role and played with the costume and the script in a sort of bespoke cover, and she was amazing. But because it was explained at the start of the performance, and we went on and said that this is what's happened, please give them lots of love. And she was amazing, and at the end there was standing ovation. It was just brilliant. And that very same production isn't on tour at the moment, but our own set and costumes are on tour with the production of Little Women that's going around the UK at the moment.
And this on the right here is our amphitheater, and the shows in the garden are really a very special type of performance. The amount of times during the Secret Garden when the red squirrels would pop in at just the right moment, as if on cue, and the birds would sing at the best moment. Honestly, it's magical to see. And last year, we had an opera in the garden, Dido and Aeneas, and it was also really lovely. I've never heard so many people walk out saying that they didn't even know they liked opera. So that was very satisfying to hear. But with those voices, I don't know how you could not. And we also had our community choir singing on stage in that one, and in Scots and Gaelic as well, which was wonderful. And our festive show last year was The Sound of Music. If you missed it, we're lucky enough to have it on again this year. And then this is our season for this year. And instead of our usual 8 productions, we decided we needed another challenge and upped it to 9. So we have a beautiful mix of drama, musicals, children's theatre with classical stories and also brand new writing. It's looking to be another beauty of a year. And that actually leads us on nicely to some of our community engagement, because one of the shows here, Nessie, is part of our community engagement that we do programs to foster writers and local talent, like the Musicals Commissioning Hub. So we run that with Capitol Theatres in Edinburgh, and Nessie is our very first result. So it's our 2025 studio musical, a brand new piece of writing about a subject I'm sure you can guess. And we do residencies like this with Imaginate and Cove Park to encourage budding writers and get their work out there and give them opportunities. We also have educational programs in schools and through workshops such as Common Ground. And this April, we are hosting for the third year running NT Connections. That's the National Theatre's initiative to showcase young people working in theatre. And it's 3 days of fantastic productions that they've put on. And yeah, it's a really lovely one. We also run dance, choir, and yoga classes. We have early stages, which is our 0 to 5-year-old sessions for little ones and their carers. It's truly a theatre for all, and we are building more and more things all the time. And one recent thing we just had was our Winter Words Festival in February. This was our 21st annual festival, and it's celebrating the literature of Scotland through engaging conversations and events. You may have heard our new artistic director even did a DJ set on the Saturday night, which was a free event for all in the area to come and have a dance, which they all did, and it was pretty great, and I think likely to be repeated as well, we hope. So that segues nicely into our new artistic director, who joined us in January of this year, Alan Cumming. You may have heard of him, but if you haven't, I'll tell you where you might know him from. He's had a very diverse career in both theatre and film and television, with notable works in roles like Cabaret on Broadway, The Good Wife, and X-Men, or you may know him from The High Life, James Bond, or Spy Kids, or more recently as his role on the host of the US version of Traitors. Now, as a Scottish-born artist, Alan has been a patron of the arts in Scotland for many moons, and he's very excited about creating an inclusive and innovative program for the future. He aims to continue the theatre's reputation for groundbreaking productions and innovative collaboration, ensuring that Pitlochry Festival Theatre continues to be an exciting and vital part of Scotland's art scene. You can expect many things from our new AD, all of which will be revealed in the coming months when he unveils his first program of work for 2026. He's also really focused on strengthening the theatre's connections with local schools and the community, and fostering an even deeper relationship with Pitlochry and surrounding areas and its cultural offerings. Did you have anything to add about our fantastic new artistic director?
He's very, very committed. He's got a lot of energy, and if you have any thoughts or ideas, he would love to hear from you. Me reverberating. He's obviously got a very, very busy schedule, but even when he's not in the building, he's always on hand. He's very quick to reply, and he's got big plans for us. He did announce in the press that he wants to take us to the West End and take us to Broadway. I mean, these are big, big plans, and we're really, really excited. We can't reveal anything else yet because none of it is confirmed, but we are hopeful of lots of exciting things to share with you in due course.
And it's a fun fact, actually, next year is Pitlochry Festival Theatre's 75th birthday. So that's quite exciting. So I think we are planning things, at the stages of planning things, and it's going to be a good year. We had another celebration recently too, which I wanted to share, and that was the retirement of our longest standing employee. She's called Muriel Battinson, and she worked at the theatre for 67 years. Yeah, she's an amazing woman. She was just 17 years old when she began at the theatre. And she's regaled me over many a coffee break with her tales of, she used to sneak in and watch on the wall of the tent, watch the performances, listen to them outside well before she started working there. And it was always her dream to work in the theatre. So that's lovely. 67 years with us at Pitlochry Festival Theatre. We will miss her, but she comes back all the time for coffee, so it's okay. Now, before we hand over to Caroline to talk to you about our glorious garden, we just wanted to mention our membership, which is a wonderful way to support the theatre. We are a charity, and we rely on support to keep us going in creating these wonderful shared experiences through storytelling. You also get fabulous benefits as a member, like priority booking, discounts, and invitations to behind-the-scenes events, and things like our members' breakfast with Alan Cumming, which we just had. So do consider a membership. We can always use your support, and we would love to have you up in Pitlochry. And now we will hand over to Caroline, unless you had anything else to add on to that.
We'll wait for questions. I might add some
Yeah, we'll do
thoughts
some
in
questions after Caroline's. Thank you so much. Caroline.
Hello, can you hear me okay? I'm Caroline Bavey. I am the Garden and Landscape Manager at Pitlochry Festival Theatre and the wonderful Explorers Garden. You're probably all wondering, if you don't know about the garden, why on earth has a theatre got a gardener? Well, we have 11 acres on the campus. I have printed off a map, a beautiful artistic map of the garden that I've left on the tables. And the campus that I was explaining does have 11 acres. And the garden, it's not a botanical garden, because a botanical garden is a scientific collection of plants. But it is as near to, and have many people visited saying, it's much better than the botanics. But we won't say that outside. So, the garden itself is 7 acres of the actual campus itself. So the map here on the tables, I've got 10 minutes to basically walk you around the world. So we start off at the entrance and we enter into our South American area of the garden. The history behind the garden when it first came together was to discuss and explore the the botanists and horticulturalists over the last 300 years. So it covers Scottish horticulturalists and botanists that went all around the world, finding these wonderful, wonderful plants. We also have art and culture through the garden itself. Like I said, we start at the entrance, going into our South American area. We go through into New Zealand, then Australia. We hit our first North American area. Then we go into South Africa, and that takes you up into our amphitheatre section, where we do our wonderful summer productions. So when I first got taken on, we're 2.5 years behind now, and we walked around the garden, and my boss at the time was like, it's very lush and green and wonderful. What he didn't realise at that point was it was lush and green and wonderful with perennial weeds. We did obviously have nobody in the garden over COVID and had lost the previous team prior to that. So we were looking at 3 to 4 years worth of, it had gone to sleep, shall we say, but the weeds and nature had kind of taken over and rewilded the space. So we are under a restoration project, and we are getting there. We're 2.5 years down into the project itself. The first 1.5 years, I was solely on my own doing that, and we had to close the garden to begin with because the paths weren't safe, the structures needed some work. We did have a wonderful donor benefactor that actually helped with the health and safety program, and that made us helped us actually do all the paths so they're beautiful and safe now for wheelchair access and accessibility. People with hard of sight are able to get around the garden pretty safely. Most of the start of the garden beginning, we go into our just before the Himalayan section is fairly flat. And you can get to there, then we peter down. It is a sloped woodland shade garden, so it's very hard to get beautiful plants and flowers to bloom. And then we go into our Himalayan section, which starts to gently slope down as we make our way into Japan, China, and Tibet. And then we make our way up. When I do tours, which we do monthly tours, which is what's looking good in the garden, and that could be taken by any one of the team. I do now have 2 junior gardeners and myself that do the 11 acres. So still a lot of work. And then we also do private tours and group tours as well. So if you want a UA3 group tour, that'd be wonderful. And the group tours generally last 2.5 hours. I get carried away in the garden. I can't talk about it enough. It's a very, very special place to be. We have a sanctuary for red squirrels. We have lots of red squirrels. The greys haven't quite made it up into Pitlochry yet, so we're keeping them very safe and close to ourselves in the garden. Lots of birds, lots of nature around the space. It is deer fenced and rabbit fenced, so that kind of protects the garden as well. But one thing that is, can I just have the pointer? Sorry, I just want to show you. We have and hold a national collection of this beautiful, oops, oh, give it to the gardener and she breaks it. Well done. Okay, I don't know how to get back. Sorry, somebody help. But does anyone know what a Himalayan blue poppy is? Any? Oh, but you've all got a job. So we hold a national collection, and that basically means that we have a certain amount. There we go. We'll leave it to marketing. Don't let the gardener touch the tech. So they're very, very hard to grow. They're very, very hard to keep. And we have probably 25 to 30 cultivars in some species. Some of our species are sadly monocarpic, and that means once they flower, they die. So it takes a long time for some of the plants to grow, and then obviously they die on you, and you're like, why? Lots of garden centres don't tell you that when you're buying plants, and you think you failed, and you haven't. It's just the plant, it's what it does. But we are very, very, people come from all over the world to see these plants. And one plant in particular you can't actually get anywhere else, and it isn't grown anywhere else in the world, is we actually have our own cultivar. So we have our Explorers Meconopsis. It's a very, very special plant. I am part of the Meconopsis Society, so we're trying to protect the species because they are in decline, because they are so hard to grow. So as a garden, we're very, very lucky to be able to hold this collection and keep it going and keep the actual plant in cultivation and in the world. We sadly are with climate change, things are changing, things are moving, and we're losing a lot of our plants around the world. So it's really, really important that we're part of this and part of looking after it. Lots and lots of other things that you can see in the garden. We have over 120 species rhododendrons. So for those of you amongst us that are a rhododendron fan, we have the most amazing plants. They start off in April and they work our way into June, and then our azaleas start. And the garden is shining again. We do have a lot of work still to do. And again, with such a small team, it's a lot of work to get through and make it look lovely and nice. But we now have it safe for you to come in. It's open again. We open again on the 1st of April. We're open from 10 in the morning till 5 at night. The last ticket is 4 o'clock. And again, the last Thursday of the month, we do our smaller tours. And again, if you'd like to book a private tour or a tour that goes round with the group, you can do that just by getting in touch with the box office, and we can kind of sort you out there. So it was a very, very quick and small tour for you. But if you have any questions afterwards, I'm sure I'd be happy to discuss that or talk more. But yes, welcome to the Explorers Garden, and please do come. So thank you.
Well, any questions?
When's the best time to visit the garden, do you think?
Because of what I am trying to do is actually extend the season. At present, I would say April, May, June, going into July. But what people forget, because we are a shade garden, the woodland takes over after that, and we have the most exceptional amount of trees. And the colours and scents that come off the trees, and the different, if you're a photographer, the light is exceptional in the space. But if you're here and you want to look at the National Collection, it starts late April, going into May, then into early June. But the rhododendrons, like I say, are starting now, take us right the way into midsummer, and then they're taken over by the azaleas. We have lots of other interesting plants. For instance, we have the Cardiocrinum giganticum. That takes 7 years to flower. So that's a lovely Himalayan lily, and that's down in our Himalayan section. So for me, anytime. Depending on what you're wanting. It's a predominantly spring, late, early summer garden.
At one stage, I was told that all the cast for the performing had to play at least one musical instrument properly. Is that still the case?
The cast that we have are a combination of actor and actor-musicians. So many of the cast do play multiple instruments, actually. So at Christmas for The Sound of Music, some were playing timpanis and then a violin, and then one was playing a harp, actually. So there was a lot of diversity in terms of their ability and what they could play, but they are amazing, and they do go from one to the other. So sometimes if somebody isn't feeling so well and can't be on stage, they do swap around. So if you go, every performance is literally, it's different every night, because sometimes they might come on and play the violin, and then the next night they might be playing a different instrument, depending. I mean, they have their main instruments, but depending on how the dynamics and how the cast are. But they are all professional actor musicians.
Just out of interest, how many people in the room have been to a production at Pitlochry Festival Theatre? Ooh. I think the first one I went to see was Abigail's Party in about 1987, I think. So.
Brilliant. Actually, we have, last year we had about 60,000 tickets were sold, and that wasn't including people that were going to the garden or people going to the cafe. And most of the UK is represented in terms of people who attend Pitlochry Festival Theatre.
And we did have a question earlier from a lovely gentleman who asked if we had pre-theatre dining again, and we do. We have a wonderful new chef, and he's prepared some amazing menus for each of the different shows on, so pre-theatre dining is back.
Yeah, we get to do photo shoots, and sometimes we get to sneak and to have the food.
It's our favourite.
Yeah, we just do extra photo shoots just so we can try more of the food.
Yvonne's hogging the microphone now. She's got another question.
Well, I'm interested. So when Alan Cumming, when his sort of programme comes into play, can we expect a sort of continuation of what you've been doing for the past few years, or is it going to be a sort of radical departure in some way? Or aren't you allowed to say?
Well, we're not allowed to give details, and even some of the details that we know have not been confirmed yet anyway. But I think when any new artistic director joins an organisation, they always have their own vision, so it would be different anyway, so there will be differences, but he also does want to build on the legacy that Elizabeth has left. So he's got very big plans, and he wants to do, he's got a theme, and Lish, correct me if I get this wrong, it's revive, revisit and reveal. So he's using those three themes so that there might be some things that we've done in the past that he might want to do in a different way, or he might want to do some new writing, but he wants to lean into those things, so there is something for everybody. He's very much about bringing absolutely everybody that he can ever think of to the theatre, so he's very open to those things. But we can't reveal all of the detail, and hopefully towards the end of the summer we'll have more things that we can tell you about next year. But he's very busy planning.
One of our Shire members has asked me to ask the group, how many of you ever went to a performance at Pitlochry Festival Theatre when it was in a tent? Wow. Now, you've all got your hands up. You've all got a question to ask, huh? Any more? Yes? No? Go on.
I went with my parents. I can't remember what it was.
Go on. There we go.
You'd be circa 1955. I can't remember what it was, but I'm sure it had a huge impact on me. And I've always remembered the slogan, stay 6 nights. 7 nights and see 6 plays.
Oh, that's lovely. It's
stuck with me all my life.
It's a remarkable thing to be able to see 6 plays in 6 days. And yeah, it's one we continue on and are very proud of. So thank you for that. Thank you for that comment.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your membership scheme, please?
Yeah, the membership starts at £40 and we have different levels. So the membership at £40, you get priority booking, so you get the best choice of seats and you get those first. There are discounts for members and you get regular updates from the theatre. Our development team, they're quite a small team, but they will be sending more information out in due course if things change and new opportunities for members as well. And we have various tiers of the membership too.
Yeah, there's behind the scenes access, and you get a members newsletter, and you get to know everything first, everything that happens first, and it's yeah, there's lovely different features of the member, and they're quite a tight-knit group too. Across the different teams, tiers of membership, because they see each other at a lot of different events, and you get to experience things like when we do the white box sessions, which are our model boxes for the sets, and so we invite the production team and the designers will sit together and then walk members through what the sets are going to look like, and those kind of behind the scenes details are lovely.
We also had a Q&A with Alan Cumming that followed actually a members only breakfast. So there are perks of being a member that you have like these small members only events.
Thank you for that.
One over here.
I'd like to thank introducing the garden to me, because I lived in Pitlochry. I've been to the theatre many times, but I didn't realise the garden was part of the theatre, and I'm going to go visit it, having neglected that. I thought the Explorers Garden was just for buying plants. I'd no idea you had productions there, because I did come during COVID. You did an outside, I think it was Wind in the Willows outside, but that was on the grass outside it wasn't in the garden.
No, that was down on the lawns.
Yeah,
but there's lots and lots of people. In fact, most people that come into the garden, if only I had £1 for every person that said, why do we not know about this beautiful space? And you know, it is a theatre garden. It was built as a theatricum botanicum, which is a garden for theatre and for showcasing art. So we are hoping that we can build on that more, have art walks and sculptures and poetry talks and artists throughout the space. We have 4 different performance areas in the garden. We have our beautiful David Douglas Pavilion, which is an event space, and the amphitheatre. We hold weddings and exhibitions. It's a vast garden, and on top of which we have the most intricate and amazingly rare plants from all around the world that these wonderful explorers, you know, you've got plants in your garden that you just don't realise that actually have been brought back from all corners of the earth. And we have a little piece. We have 7 glades in the garden. One of the glades is the Himalayas, so that covers 4 main countries from Bhutan through China, Tibet and Japan. And all of the Scottish explorers that actually are showcased. Sadly, at the moment, we don't have any female explorers in the garden, but it is something and a project that I'm looking to for the future. And we will have, hopefully, that in. It does come down to funding, etc., because, as you are aware, we are a charity. We rely on donors and people visiting and buying tickets and people leaving things as legacies to us. So, I'd love to see you all in the garden. Please say hi. Please ask for me. Maybe a big group of you would like to come. But, if you could spread the word, it would be amazing, because it's a gem that nobody knows about. So.
Secret, and we really want to lift the lid on that and share it with the world.
When I first closed the garden, it was actually hard reopening it because I wanted to keep it to myself. And some days it does feel like that, but I would love to share it and welcome lots of people to this just beautiful space that I'm very blessed to be able to work in.
Thank you very much, all of you. I'm not doing the official vote of thanks. I'm just so grateful. And like, I'm very familiar with the theatre over the years, but the garden not so much, shall we say. And I'm really looking forward to visiting. Tell me, when are the Mechanopsis in best flower, would you suggest?
So the Mechanopsis, one in particular species, starts near the end of April. It does also depend on what our weather's doing, but throughout May, they vary time, so it's not just one flower and they're all in bloom. We have lots and lots of different cultivars and species that they have a successional flowering, but they take you right into early to mid-June, depending on the weather. As you're aware, they're a kind of hard plant. They like colder and wetter and shady. So depending on what's happening around us, you'll be lucky enough. And the flower is exquisite. It's just a very, very special plant.
And we have a newsletter if you sign up to, and we always like to share what's in bloom. And yes, May is Mechanopsis month, so if you do sign up to the newsletter, we'll keep you informed on what's blooming in what month.
One over here.
Hello. Having last summer enjoyed a wonderful operatic experience outside, but got to distinctly damp, I wonder if you'd thought of providing some sort of cover, or is that unethical?
Me, myself? It is something that we have looked at. We have actually costed having a covering over the amphitheatre, but again, through funding and donors, it's something that maybe in the future we would be able to have. We looked at something retractable so it doesn't detract from the space, because on a beautiful day the garden is singing. The amphitheatre is right nestled in the heart of the garden. I call it my bird's nest because it's just beautiful. The birds are singing all around you. The rest of the world disappears when you're actually sat in the amphitheatre. So often on a sunny day, if I can get 5 minutes, I'll go down and do some paperwork. But you hear the rushing water of the dam and the River Tummel just on the background of our northern section. And throughout the garden as well, you've always got Benfrackie in view on our northern side. So I thoroughly recommend it. Alan, I'm sure, is programming more theatre for next year in the garden and more events. So look out for them in the newsletter and our website. So and come and see. Come and see every time of year. It changes all the time. So I just love it.
Final one, I think.
Thank you. I really look forward to seeing the garden, and being in Pitlochry again. I do go to theatre a lot. My daughter in the Highlands, Lachaba, she works very closely with young people, up to teenagers and over, and she's always complaining that all the theatres are all centralised. They don't go up there. When I heard about your membership, I wondered if there was group membership for the likes of a group that wanted to come down and go to something there. Are there group memberships for young people or anything?
There aren't group memberships, but we do have group prices. So they can come, if they contact the box office can give them the group price if they're all coming together. We've had lots of groups of school children and young people come to many of our shows. I think sometimes because the school holidays fall obviously from the end of June, it's kind of when our main season is, so it doesn't always work with school groups. We had loads and loads at Christmas for the Sound of Music, lots of school groups, and actually lots of school groups that were supporting their school friends who were in the production of the Sound of Music, and it was beautiful, really lovely. So we do, if they contact box office, we do offer group discounts for them.
I'm talking about have actually more or less at the end of school, and they're very interested in theatre and such like, so always trying to explore if they can go somewhere with a group cost.
Also we do theatre tours, so if they're coming as a group, and we can speak to the producer and see what offers they can do for a group of young people to explore beyond the stage and go backstage as well.
Thank you very much.
Just hand back to Graham for a thank you.
Well, thank you. I thought that was wonderful. Just to say that it isn't just Scotland where we have the rain. I had the misfortune of being in Verona on one occasion to go and see Aida, and it actually rained off the whole show. So I didn't get to see anything other than the fact that it cost me a lot of money to buy a ticket. Anyway, on a more local note, thank you a lot for coming along and presenting what you've presented to do with Pitlochry Theatre. We're so lucky, really, to have a facility so close to us and so well supported by all the members and all the people that travel hundreds of miles to come and see the theatre. So I wish you every success coming season, and hopefully on one of my visits I'll pop along and see if I can meet you personally up there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Just to say that the next talk we have is by one of our members, Trevor Harrison. I don't know whether Trevor's in the room at the moment. Hi, Trevor. Trevor's giving a talk on a brief talk on the horn, or the French horn, a brief history. Have I got that right? That's it, brief history of the French horn. So please come along and support that. I'm sure it'll be interesting. And have a safe journey home. And thank you again for your attendance today. Thank you. Bye.